Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into some really interesting sources from Beit Yisrael International, mainly looking through the lens of the Gadi Ephraim notes. And the big topic is this idea of the 70 dimensions of Mashiach's light.
Yeah.
Now, first off, these dimensions, they're not historical events or anything like that, are they? The notes seem to frame it differently.
Exactly, yeah. It's presented as a living revelation. Think of it less as history and more as the inner architecture of creation itself. The sources say these are like the 70 primary rays that burst forth from the very first command, Yihai, or let there be light.
Wow, okay, so the initial burst of creation.
Precisely. And they tie this directly to the 70 faces of Torah. So 70 pathways, essentially, for divine wisdom to reach us.
Okay, so if that's the kind of the cosmic blueprint,
Yeah.
how does it connect down to, us, to the
Right.
world? What are the notes saying about those connections?
Well, this is where it gets really encompassing. They draw direct lines. Each dimension corresponds to one of the 70 traditional nations of the world.
70 nations.
70 nations, 70 languages, and even 70 core aspects of human consciousness. It's incredibly layered. And here's a key point for you listening. Within every single one of these dimensions, these sparks,
The hidden light from the beginning of creation, the one that was concealed.
that's the one.
So is the light of Mashiach just about finding these hidden sparks, or is there more structure to it?
Oh, it's very structural. The light of Mashiach is described as the great unifier, absolutely. But the dimensions themselves, they actually flow out from a foundation, a root triad. This triad is based on the patriarchs. Abraham, representing loving kindness.
Okay.
Yitzchak, representing Gevurah, strength or discipline.
Right.
And Yaakov, representing Tiferet, which is harmony, beauty, truth.
So those three are the roots.
They're the roots. And then structurally, these three expand out. The notes mention they branch into 30 core streams of divine energy. Think 10 from each root.
30 streams. Okay.
And then these 30 streams merge with 40 other pathways, described as hidden pathways of wisdom. So 30 plus 40.
Gives you a 70.
Exactly. That's the full 70 dimensions of revelation. It's quite a map.
It is. Now, you mentioned unity, but the teachings often talk about a kind of duality, don't they? Like the revealed Torah versus the hidden inner Torah, chassidut, the soul's secrets. How does the light of Mashiach bridge that gap?
Well, according to these sources, bridging that gap is the main event. The ultimate function of the light of Mashiach is precisely to fuse these two aspects. The outer and the inner so, all 70 dimensions shine together as one integrated light.
Oh, okay.
And crucially, this isn't just an internal Jewish concept, it's presented as completely universal. It extends out to embrace all 70 nations, affirming that each one has its own unique spark, its own divine purpose.
So it's like a restoration project for the whole world, bringing all these sparks together. Is there a term for that?
Yes, the process is known as tikkun restoration, or repair of creation. It's about purifying and elevating everything, harmonizing the lower worlds through those same core principles, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet.
Kindness, strength, harmony.
Exactly, leading to this vision of all 70 sparks unified under the Shekinah, the divine presence, like a universal tent of peace.
So bringing this down to earth,
Yeah.
what does this mean for someone listening right now? How does this big cosmic structure apply practically?
That's the beautiful part. Beit Yisrael International really emphasizes the practical. They teach that every single positive act you do,
Like what?
like an act of simple kindness, a moment of real focused prayer, even gaining a new insight while learning Torah, each act actually unveils another ray of this 70-fold light, they have a phrase for it, gathering the 70 sparks into the lamp of David. Every good deed adds a little more light.
Gathering the sparks. I like that. So here's the thought to leave you with, drawing from the Gadi Ephraim notes. And the light of Mashiach, in this view, is the ultimate revelation of that hidden light. It's the moment that concealed energy, which has been sort of stored up for the righteous, finally breaks through and illuminates everything.
Okay, let's dig into that structure a bit more, because we often hear light of Mashiach in the singular, right? But the Gadi Ephraim notes really insist on this spectrum, this 70. Why 70? Why the division?
Well, it seems to be about harmony, not singularity. Think of it maybe like a prism. The light of Mashiach is the pure white light, sure, but for creation to exist in all its diversity, you need the whole rainbow. These 70 dimensions are described as this perfect harmony, like 70 unique rays of divine consciousness. If it were just one single blast, it might overwhelm everything. But as 70 rays, it can encompass all wisdom, all nations, all souls, in a structured, unified way.
So each dimension is like a unique channel for the infinite light, a specific flavor almost of divine expression. And that implies the whole universe is highly structured, mirroring this divine setup.
Absolutely. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, this system starts to unlock a lot of other deep concepts. These dimensions are described as, for instance, the 70 faces of the Torah, meaning every truth has these 70 angles of interpretation. They're linked to the 70 tongues of prophecy, and maybe most fundamentally, the 70 root sparks of the nations. Together, they form these 70 spiritual pillars that the whole world stands on, in a way. The light of Mashiach fuses these pillars into one.
That does set up a fascinating dynamic, though. If every nation, every branch of wisdom holds a unique spark, how does the Gadi Ephraim teaching approach, say, historical conflicts or divisions? Does it imply separation is somehow fundamental?
That's a key point. It addresses separation by arguing that the 70 are currently dispersed. They're perceived as separate, sometimes conflicting. Redemption, in this model, is the act of reunion. The goal isn't to erase the differences, but to reveal their shared root, their ultimate harmony. The light of Mashiach is basically the mechanism that shows they were never truly meant to be separate entities.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Connecting this huge cosmic light structure right back down to the human level, specifically to the very first righteous individuals, the tzaddikim. We're talking about the patriarchs, the avot.
That's exactly right. Gadi Ephraim teaches that the light hidden at creation was, in a deep sense, the light of the tzaddikim Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Their specific lights, their spiritual essence, were the foundational building blocks.
Right. And for listeners who might not swim in these Kabbalistic waters daily, we're talking about three core attributes, the sephirah they embodied, yes.
Correct. And this is really the critical structural insight here. Ephraim's light is chesed, think absolute love, compassion, expansion. Yitzchak represents Gevurah, that's strength, strict justice, necessary limitation or definition. And Yaakov embodies Tiferet, which is beauty, harmony, truth, the balance point.
We hear those terms a lot. Can you give us maybe a quick analogy? If Chesed is like the gas pedal unconditional flow and Gevurah is the brake necessary restriction, is Tiferet then like the skilled driver who knows how to use both, balancing them?
That's actually a really good way to put it, yes. Tiferet is the axis, the balance. These three, often called the three primary lines or pillars of light, formed the trifold foundation for all 70 dimensions. Every single one of those 70 dimensions, every ray, is essentially a unique combination or permutation of love, strength, and harmony.
Ah, okay. That starts to explain the jump from 3 to 70 then. If each dimension is a sort of, I don't know, mathematical expression derived from those three core forces, then the system expands out, doesn't it? Exponentially, maybe.
That's exactly right. And the light of Mashiach itself is specifically rooted in Tiferet. It represents the synthesis, the perfection of all three, achieving that perfect, beautiful balance between, infinite divine love and necessary divine strength or structure. The teaching is that in the Messianic era, this balanced light, the Tiferet light, extends fully into these 70 precisely ordered rays, each fulfilling one aspect of divine wisdom.
Okay, so if this light is the foundation of the world, rooted way back in history, and described as this ultimate cosmic revelation, the big question is, so what? What does this mean for us, like right now? Is this just some distant future cosmic light show?
And this is where Beit Yisrael International really brings the concept right down to earth. They teach that the 70 dimensions aren't only external cosmic things. Fundamentally, they are inner states of the soul. The structure of the entire universe is reflected, or maybe mirrored perfectly, right inside the human spirit.
Wow. Okay. So the architecture of redemption isn't just external, something we're waiting for. It's waiting to be activated within us.
Yes, precisely. Each one of those 70 dimensions corresponds to a specific refinement of consciousness. So, for example, you might have dimensions related to perfecting compassion, or achieving deep humility, or absolute commitment to justice, or, fostering unity. The light of Mashiach, therefore, is fundamentally an awakening. It's the synchronized activation of these 70 states within the collective human soul.
That completely shifts the perspective, doesn't it? It suggests that this cosmic alignment isn't just something that happens to the world, it happens through us. When these 70 inner dimensions get activated across humanity, our collective consciousness aligns with the divine order. It sort of prepares the ground.
Exactly. And this activation is tied directly to our everyday actions and intentions. According to Gadi Ephraim notes, every mitzvah, Every positive act, every bit of kindness, every sincere moment of Torah study, it doesn't just like earn spiritual points somewhere. It tangibly reveals one of these 70 rays of light, our ongoing efforts, our striving, our spiritual growth. That's what actually weaves these dimensions together into the full spectrum.
So every ethical choice, every act of connection is like a tiny spark contributing to this massive illumination. Can you give a maybe more concrete example? How does refining an inner state reveal a ray?
Sure, let's take the dimension linked to, say, unconditional giving, he said. When you perform a genuine act of compassion, with no thought of return, it doesn't just help the person you're giving to. According to this, it actively strengthens that specific channel of light in the universe and within your own soul. Now imagine if 70 people, or 70 groups, simultaneously perfected 70 different traits. One masters patience, another truthfulness, another deep gratitude. You've essentially lit up 70 different facets of the ultimate light structure. You've helped prepare the world for their unification.
And we see reflections of this 70 structure elsewhere too, as you mentioned earlier.
Indeed. It's reflected, they say, in the 70 mystical names of God, the 70 elders of Israel who received prophecy at Sinai, the traditional 70 languages of humanity, the 70 branches of wisdom. It's like the universe is built on this framework, pointing towards this potential unity.
Which brings us to the culmination, right? The gathering. The sources call it the gathering of the 70 lights, which echoes that Zohar image of 70 lamps shining from the lamp of David. What actually happens when all 70 rays are finally brought together into coherence?
This culmination really circles back to that light of Tiferet, the balancing principle. Beit Yisrael International draws on and expands teachings from figures like the Arizal and the Ramshal, describing the light of Mashiach as or HaTiferet, the central, unifying light. Its fundamental role is to reconcile all opposites. Matter and spirit, judgment and mercy, the individual and the collective, all find their balance point there.
So if the world now seems defined by these 70 sometimes conflicting divisions, the languages, the nations, the different viewpoints, the final light unites them, showing they were all actually fragments of the same original source.
That's the ultimate act of restoration, yes. This light specifically gathers the 70 dispersed sparks, which are often understood to represent the 70 nations or aspects of humanity. These essential pieces of divine energy got scattered or concealed during history through exile and division. Redemption, then, is about restoring every single fragment, bringing all that scattered divine energy back to its unified source. It's a total reunion of all parts.
And when that light finally shines fully, when all 70 dimensions are harmonized, both inside us and out in the world, what's the result for human knowledge, for understanding?
Well, the idea is, when the light of Mashiach shines, those 70 dimensions reveal themselves not as separate, but as 70 perfectly harmonized expressions of one single eternal truth. All the contradictions we perceive now between science and religion, maybe, or different philosophies, they dissolve. This state is sometimes called the Torah of Mashiach. Not necessarily a new book, but the revelation of the inner dimension of all existing truth. It reveals a comprehensive reality of unity, peace, and oneness, where there's no longer any conflict between different paths to wisdom.
That's incredibly powerful. It suggests the light of Mashiach is the sum total of divine history. The patriarch's light magnified 70 times, the inner soul of Torah made manifest, and humanity finally restored to its complete, unified divine image. It's like the final symphony, said 70 instruments, all playing in perfect harmony.
Precisely. And Gadi Ephraim summarizes this by concluding that this light isn't just some distant prophecy we wait for passively. It's an unfolding revelation. It shines even now whenever hearts unite, whenever we act with that balance of Tiferet, whenever the inner dimension of Torah, that wisdom of unity, is revealed.
Which speaks directly to the mission of Beit Yisrael International, doesn't it? Trying to demonstrate that every group, every language, every soul holds a spark of that same original light, and encouraging its awakening across all 70 nations.
Yes, Gadi Ephraim uses this beautiful image, the light of Mashiach, as the sum of all 70 dimensions, like 70 rivers flowing back into one sea of divine oneness. So the provocative thought maybe is this: if every focused act of kindness, every moment of gaining wisdom reveals and strengthens one of these 70 dimensions, what does that really suggest about the cumulative power of our daily interactions, our small acts? How much can they actually accelerate the arrival of this ultimate state of unity? That seems to be the work.
The work we're asked to do now. To see that light fill the world as the waters cover the sea, one light, one Torah, one Creator. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the incredible architecture of redemption from the Gadi Ephraim notes.